Good morning. Yeah, first off, an apology. There seemed to be a bit of a glitch yesterday with the video, and I was only able to sort of post it on my wall this morning. So sorry about that. Hopefully, someone missed it. I know Deb did. Um, so what am I going to talk about today? You might not have noticed that this is all totally unscripted. This is all off the top of my nut, and I I take the same attitude as Billy Connolly does when he does a sketch, or when he does a show. That I don't know what the hell I'm going to say before I start. So here we go. But yeah, one thing I was thinking about this morning when I was out for my run was I was thinking about stress again, and but some of the things that have really sort of helped me deal with stress in my life. My 50s have been pretty stressful. I've been homeless 4 times, and that's been all in sobriety, which is, in a way, if that had happened when I was drinking, I could have sort of said, well, there you go. Um, but yeah, I mean, when I think, I've spoke about yoga and meditation, and they're vitally important, but I think there's another important thing, and this is one of the things that I learned years ago from when I was selling insurance, is positive mental attitude. And this takes on a lot of different sort of guises. I mentioned before about my old school buddy that I used to jam with, who decided that he was going to get a place at Boston Conservatory to do jazz composition, enter the competition at that end, but there's only one prize for the whole of Europe, and he won it because he was determined. He was determined to do it, but he was also determined to do what it took. So I've read The Secret, and I'm a big fan of The Secret, by Rhonda Byrne. But I think the mistake some people make is that they read The Secret and they think, right, all I've got to do is like wish and hope, and it'll happen. But you have got to take some action to that end. I think she calls it in the book inspired action. And when we're sort of positive and we're in like what psychologists call the flow, like instinctively we know the right thing to do, and the right actions to take. Another thing I've learned, and that partially comes from The Secret as well, is how to like how to reframe things. Especially when you haven't got much money, it's very easy to get wound up about bills. They seem to be never ending. Well, they are never ending by their nature. But if we sort of like reframe the way we look at things, and this is something I learned from a friend of mine, Liz, and not look at it so much as bills, but that we're paying for services rendered. So like when we pay our rent, we think, well, let's express a bit of gratitude for having a roof over our head, or our mortgage or whatever. And look at it from that point of view. I think that's an important thing. Is how we talk about things is can actually really really influence our mood. And I, not very successfully, I have tried to stop swearing a bit. So I think I've slipped up a few times on these videos, but tried not to. And in my conversation, I try not to now. So I don't really need to. I've got quite a good vocabulary. And some of the other things I've tried to do is, for years and years, when I was like publican in particular, you tend to talk about other people, and some guys will say, oh yeah, gossip, that's something that women do. No, blokes are much just as bad, if not worse. And I suddenly got to the point where about a year ago, where I realised that there were some people, I only spoke to them. Our only sort of way we used to relate to each other was like the way we spoke about other people, and that is not very good, really, at all. And I've really made a definite attempt not to speak about people unless I've got something really, really, really good to say about them. And I think that's very important, very, very important. And the last thing I've learned, I've really only learnt this in the last, oh, maybe 2 or 3 months, I was having a conversation with a friend of mine, Carol, and what, and this has happened to me quite a few times, especially since I left the pub. I've like had, some would say harebrained schemes, I'd say well thought out plans, which haven't really come to fruition. I've had 1 or 2 goes at working abroad. Um, like last year, I was trying to set up as a psychotherapist, and that didn't pay off. And one thing she said to me, she said, if you got, great having plans, make, make dream boards, but she said, don't tell anyone. Don't, just keep it to yourself, and then when it comes to fruition, then you can tell people. And this has really stood me in good stead this last few months. And it may sound odd, but just try it. If you sort of think to yourself, right, well, I'm going to do this, that, and the other, keep it to yourself. Don't tell anyone, and then don't tell anyone until it's happened or until it's starting to happen, and just see how it works out. Okay, well, hopefully this will post all right today, and I'll see you tomorrow. Cheers then. Bye bye.